The movie Godzilla vs. Kong, the ultimate battle giant creatures trying to destroy the world and humanity from the invasion of the leader of the gorillas on human land and its complete destruction. In the Hollow Earth, it begins in a place deep inside the earth. We see the gorilla Kong escaping from terrifying creatures. Kong reaches them and gets surrounded by these creatures, but Kong is clever. He makes a move and knocks most of them down, and the rest want to attack Kong. Kong wants to scare them and grabs one of them, splitting it in half. This makes the rest of the creatures flee quickly from the place. Kong goes to the waterfall to clean himself from the blood of the creatures. After that, he goes to a high mountain to eat and rest because he finds a tooth that hurts him. Suddenly, another creature attacks him and takes the food he has, so Kong tries to get his food back. But suddenly, he hears a loud noise in the area and quickly goes to the source of the sound. However, he discovers that it is a lizard capable of making loud noises. In the human world, we see Dr. Eileen at a conference talking about giant creatures. She knows everything about Kong and that he is the last surviving member of his species. He is currently looking for any girl similar to him. At this time in Rome, we see a giant creature destroying everything around it, but he finds another creature larger than him and pushes the creature away from the humans, finishing it off using fire from its mouth. We return to the Hollow Earth, deep inside the Earth, at the Kong Monitoring Center. The scientists there are exploring a new unknown area with strange sensors. The scene changes to an energy axis made in the water. This is the gateway between the Hollow Earth and the surface. Dr. Eileen is present at the facility, monitoring all the movements of the giant creatures inside the Hollow Earth. Dr. Eileen learns from the scientists that they have detected earthquake sensors in the Hollow Earth. At school, we see a teenage girl named Gia. She is the last surviving girl from her tribe, the Iwi tribe, who were inside the Hollow Earth guarding Kong. While attending class, she hallucinates about strange things. Her teacher wakes her up and asks her about the drawing, and it turns out that she drew a picture of 3 pyramids while hallucinating. After school, she is punished to clean the seat. Eileen takes Gia to the car. She asks her about the meaning of the drawings, and Gia communicates with her through gestures because they don't understand each other's language. Eileen realizes that Gia doesn't know the meaning. At night, at Eileen's house, she reviews her work documents and the earthquake sensors that the scientist told her about. She discovers that Gia's drawing matches the same sensors. At the Kong Monitoring Center, the sensors are very strong on the devices. We see cameras showing a hand similar to Kong's, and the radio is working on news about Godzilla and Kong and all the supernatural creatures, and Eileen asks for his help and shows him the earthquake sensors and Gia's drawing. She tells him that these are earthquake sensors and that her daughter drew them, and that she drew them by accident, not believing that it was just a drawing. Also, she came to him because she knows his thinking is different, and this is definitely not just a drawing. He hints to her that he will help her in exchange for her going to the Hollow Earth. Eileen agrees and reaches the facility, and they inform her of the first thing, that Godzilla is on the move and heading towards the Hollow Earth gateway. At the same time, at the gateway, we see something coming out of it. It turns out to be Kong, and Kong sleeps next to the facility. She goes out to look at him. Gia, who understands them, realizes that there is something painful living. What came out to them, so they notice that one of his teeth is infected. They quickly decide to get a lift and doctor. At this time, someone comes to her who knows that Bernie has arrived and wants her. Eileen goes to him, and he informs her that these sensors are for people in the Hollow Earth looking for their help and calling for aid. So Eileen quickly goes to the person in charge. She informs her of everything she could gather from Bernie and that someone is calling for help and they must go to help him, and the person in charge gives her permission to enter the Hollow Earth. Eileen takes Trapper, Gia, Bernie, and the pilot Michael with her, who will fly the plane, and they separate again and manage to enter the Hollow Earth. They enter a group of wild birds and keep following Kong. They change the color of the plane to match the birds as camouflage so they won't be seen. At the facility, the person in charge is informed that Godzilla has changed his direction and is currently in France. We see a team from the facility chasing Godzilla and realizing that he is targeting a radiation zone. He is drawing energy from it, so all the scientists understand that. But nothing affects Godzilla, and Godzilla releases a very strong energy from his body. It destroys everything around him, and those at the facility inform Eileen of what happened. They repeat that they must go to the monitoring center and see what is happening from there. When they reach the place, the energy shows that it is the monitoring center, and it explodes, and everything in it is destroyed, and everyone is dead, and they are all confused about who did this, because even Kong never thought of destroying the center, and they look at the mountain and find. So he takes his axe and descends into a hole in the deepest part of the earth. He discovers that this place is a cemetery for his species. So he gets very angry and finds a waterfall in the place. So he destroys it, and he discovers a place he has never seen before in the hollow earth. Suddenly, he finds a small gorilla. So Kong is very happy and approaches him to greet him. When he approaches the small gorilla, it raises its hands and runs away. So Kong runs quickly after it, and suddenly he notices the creature behind him, but Kong hits them, and one of them is thrown onto the mountain. Kong runs and grabs them, and they escape, but unfortunately, the gorilla tries to finish off Kong. So he throws Kong off the mountain, and the others escape. And Kong screams at the small gorilla and asks them about their location. The gorilla asks him to follow him, and at the same time with the others on the plane. The plane begins to shake, and Michael informs her that this is due to a new energy that suddenly appeared. Bernie starts filming with the camera and keeps walking with them. He smells a strange smell in the place, so Michael yells at all of them and tells them to be quiet because the person in charge is here, and keeps yelling. Suddenly, the tree behind them pulls them inside, and they disappear. The others are shocked and run away quickly, so they try to contact the facility, but they can't find a connection. At Godzilla, we see him inside the ocean and descending into the water. He goes to a place with water, so he understands that if Godzilla can finish him off, he will take his power, and Godzilla's power will increase. At the same time, at the group in the hollow earth, Gia finds words related to her species, so the group continues in the place. They enter his place, and Gia informs them that it was a temple, and a glowing butterfly appears to them. It helps them and lands on a hidden button in the place, so they press it, and the tunnels in the ground start filling with water. They follow the tunnels until they reach a place with an energy wall, and he cuts a part of the wall and finds that there are 6 pyramids inside, the same drawing that Gia drew, and the 6 pyramids are 3 on top and 3 below. We return to Kong and the small gorilla, who keep walking until they reach the lake. They descend and drink from it, and this calms the small gorilla. The small gorilla notices something in the water coming from Kong's back. They notice Kong and take a picture of him, and suddenly a water snake attacks, and Kong's axe falls on him, and the head of the water snake also falls on him. He looks behind him and finds Kong still alive, so they take Kong and continue their journey. They sit on a mountain, and Kong eats the snake's body, so the small gorilla is hungry. So Kong throws him a piece of the snake's body. And in the northern books, we see a submarine from the scientists stopping at the dragon's lair, Tiamat. When they approach it, suddenly they find fire from Godzilla's fire destroying the area, and Godzilla attacks. And in the water, we see a very strong energy coming out of the water. Behind it, Tiamat's body appears in pieces, and Godzilla enters Tiamat's lair. At this time, at the group in the hollow earth, people from Gia's tribe, who they thought were dead and disappeared, appear to them, and they raise their weapons at them. And when the leader of these people sees Gia, he tells them to bring them all to present them to the queen, and they communicate through thoughts, and the queen comes out. She meets them and says to be careful to bring Gia to her, and when Gia comes to her, the queen grabs her hand and reads her thoughts and memories, and confirms that Gia is one of them, and she understands that those with her are not coming for evil, so the queen tells her guards to let them pass and come to her, and they all enter the energy pyramid. They see the source of energy, which is unlimited, so Trapper and Eileen feel that the exploration was not for them, and that it might be for Kong, and he moves away from the skeleton of the giant creature. He goes to a place full of light, and we return to the group, and there is a room with the rest of the people of the hollow earth, and we see a glowing liquid starting to spread throughout the room, and writings appear that Emily can read, and Emily starts reading and knows that it is from a very long time ago. It preserved the giants' harmony between the hollow earth and the surface of the humans, and this peace was threatened by the leader of the gorillas, who created an army to fight the inhabitants. But they stood up, and Godzilla was able to capture him and imprison him in the hollow earth in the fiery region. And this leader was named the King of the Skull, or King Scar. At this time, we return to Kong, who has reached a cave inside the fiery earth. Kong is shocked to see a very large number of gorillas being enslaved, and Kong sees one of the gorillas being trained by someone stronger than him. Before Kong descends to them, he tries to stop the small gorilla. Kong doesn't care and descends to them, so they hit Kong with one blow and he falls to the ground. A gorilla from the gorillas goes in front of the king's room in the cave and tells the king everything, and the king descends, who was talked about before. All the gorillas bow before him, and the king approaches Kong, and the king sees Kong's iron fangs. So he laughs at him and makes all the gorillas fight him, and the king brings the small gorilla and scares him. So the small gorilla returns and sees his father, and the gorilla is very sad for his father and gets angry at what happened. And he and the king fight, and everyone grabs their weapons, and the king has a chain with a blue crystal, and he hits Kong with it and wounds him in the hand, and he jumps on Kong and strangles him. So Kong pushes him away and manages to throw him far, and the gorilla tries to protect the king. But he stops them and signals to the other gorillas to open a gate, and the gorillas start lifting the waterfall of light, and we see giant creatures. And they bring him out, and the king controls him through the crystal in the chain, and he orders him to finish off Kong. So the creature releases a force that can turn Kong's hand into ice. So Kong suffers severe injuries, and before the creature hits him again, the small gorilla signals to him about the exit, and Kong escapes and runs behind him. We return to the group still in the hollow earth, and they learn that Godzilla is planning to enter a destructive war. Bernie tells them that Godzilla was going to fight, and there was someone else who would fight with him. They start reading again and learn that the legend of the people living here says that one of their gods will awaken and become allies with Godzilla and help in the war. Meanwhile, Kong is escaping from the gorillas chasing him and reaches a dead end. He thinks he is going to die, but suddenly he finds the trap above the gorillas. The small gorilla opens it, and the trap falls on them, killing them. Kong takes the small gorilla and escapes, and they see that, so they open a gap and enter it, and they see the gorillas who escaped from under the rubble. They know the place where Kong went and go to inform the king. Kong falls to the ground, and Gia communicates with him and tells him everything that happened, and that he lost the battle and is severely injured. At this time, the small gorilla reaches the leader and informs him of Kong's location, so the king releases the creature and takes his followers and goes on their way to Kong. At the same time, we see Godzilla, who has drawn energy and looks very bad. He tells Eileen that they must bring the iron hand they made for Kong, because his hand is no longer useful. Godzilla is in another place near the Strait of Gibraltar. He senses Kong's presence and descends into the water, heading towards the pyramids. On the other side, a creature appears near a glowing pyramid. It turns out to be a large bee named Queen Mothra. The creature takes her and exits through the gateway, and at this time, Godzilla reaches the pyramids and is ready to fight. Kong tries to explain to him that he is not here to kill him, but to join forces and fight together. But Godzilla doesn't understand and starts fighting Kong. They throw each other onto the pyramids and destroy everything around them. Kong defends against the attacks, but Godzilla manages to hit him here. So Kong, who is injured, hits Godzilla. Kong manages to grab Godzilla and pulls him towards the gateway, but Godzilla is still strong, and he fires his atomic breath at Kong, who tries to dodge the attacks, but Godzilla grabs him and is about to finish him off. At this moment, Queen Mothra arrives, and as soon as Godzilla sees her, he communicates with her. Godzilla understands that Kong is an ally and not an enemy, and that they must fight evil together. In the Hollow Earth, the king arrives with his army and sees the open gateway and the pyramids being destroyed. He creates a barrier between the pyramids, but he is surprised by a large group of creatures that create electric waves coming towards his army, and they start finishing them off. And the one who led them here is Trapper. Trapper takes his friends inside the plane and helps fight the creatures against all the gorillas in front of them. King Scar looks at the gateway, and at this time the giants Godzilla and Kong descend from the gap. They come together to fight the creature and King Scar, and a very strong battle begins in the place. And this causes the gravity in the place to disappear, and they all float. The battle continues between the giant creatures, and the group's plane is about to crash, but Queen Mothra comes and saves them. Godzilla is attacked by the creature and is covered in ice, but his body resists and frees itself from the ice and starts fighting the creature again, and the gravity returns to normal, and the gap pulls all the giant creatures to the surface of the earth. Kong throws his axe in front of the gap, and after moments they exit in Brazil. King Scar terrifies the people and orders the creature to use its power to freeze the entire place. Kong comes with his strong hand and brings him down, and the battle continues between the creatures in Brazil, and they destroy it completely, and Kong is about to finish off Scar, but Scar uses the creature as a defense and hits Kong, and Godzilla enters to help Kong and fights the creature. At this time, the small gorilla sees the axe in front of the gap, so he takes it and enters the gap and removes the crystal from it and throws it on the ground, and when Kong goes to get it, the king tries to stop him. At this time, the small gorilla arrives with the axe and runs towards the crystal that controls the creature and breaks it with the axe. So the king is shocked and grabs the small gorilla and is about to finish him off. So Kong defends him and hits King Scar, and the creature, now freed from Scar, freezes him. They finish off King Scar and destroy his throne. In the lands, and after that, Queen Mothra creates a strong protective barrier for the place. After that, everyone returns to their homeland, and Godzilla goes to his place in the Roman Colosseum, and Kong, the creature, and the small gorilla return to the Hollow Earth. We see Kong controlling the creature and becoming the king of his species. And here we reach the end of our movie. Thank you for watching, and goodbye, my friend.